thanks for preparing the stage. So thank you for the kind invitation to Oscar. I'm going to speak with you within the next minutes about the Acufocus corneal inlay now called Kamra corneal inlay. And I don't know if you know it, but I'm from Salzburg. Salzburg is situated in Austria, quite in the middle of Europe. And you're all kindly invited to visit our city, and I'm going to give you some insider tip. If you're going to Salzburg, I would like you to visit this place. It's called Hangar 7. It's a cocktail bar and somewhere you can eat. It's owned by Dietrich Mateschitz, the guy who owns Red Bull. So I don't know if you know that. Red Bull is a typical Salzburg liquid. And I think it's one of the few places in the world where you can eat and drink and also can see some beautiful planes and cars. It's a real very unique situation. And I don't have a financial interest now in the topic. So you all know that presbyopia is thought by many of us to be the last frontier in cataract and refractive surgery, and we have so many choices, so many different implants, lenses, which you can address the needs of your patients. You have all these lenses, you can change the cornea with different laser procedures, you can even change something at the sclera, or you can put some inlays into the cornea. So, once back. And the idea to get rid of reading glasses is not a very new one. I don't know if you know this guy, Georg Bartisch. He lived at the end of the 16th century and he was ophthalmologist in Dresden. At that time they didn't call us ophthalmologists, we have just been oculists. So we've been doctors at lower stage, let's call it that way. And he published the first textbook in ophthalmology. And he has a very famous prescription to get rid of your reading glasses. You take a certain amount of deer liver, then you take roots of different plants, you take some cinnamon, you take some sugar, and then you mix it all together, you make a powder out of it, and you take whatever 3 fingers of you can take twice a day at waxing moon, and then you can get rid of your reading glasses. And this is an idea of the end of the 16th century, and now you see we're at the beginning of the 21st century, so it seems not to be easy to get rid of our reading glasses. And I'm going to talk with you now about this procedure, about the Kamra corneal inlay. They have now implanted more than 15,000 within the last years, and more than thousands have been investigated in different clinical trials. It's an artificial aperture with an outer diameter of 3.8 millimeter and an inner diameter 1.6 millimeter. And how does it work? It works quite simple. It uses the principle of a simple analog camera. So if you're diminishing the optical aperture, you're increasing the depth of focus. So it's a really quite simple, straightforward idea. There have been different designs within the last years, and the old design was this one, the ACI 7000. ACI is an acronym for Acufocus corneal inlay. It has been a little bit thicker, about 10 microns, and it had 1,600 of these porosity holes within the inlay to facilitate the nutrition of the cornea. And now we have a new design. We call it the ACI 7000 PDT inlay. It's only 5 microns thick. It has much more of these holes. It has 8,400 holes, and it's now implanted deeper in the cornea. Why deeper in the cornea? Here you can see the topography changes that have been caused by these early inlay designs 1 to 2 years after implantation. And here you can see we have quite some elevation over the inlay, and in the central part the cornea is flattening. Therefore we had some patients with hyperopic shifts. And now with the new inlay I had to look quite some time to even find a patient where I can show you something. But here, with the 5 micron inlay, you can see a little bit of elevation over the inlay, but by far not that much as with the thicker inlay. And within the last years, we published some papers about this Kamra procedure, and I'm gonna talk within the next few minutes about 2 of them, which might be of interest for you. So we took part in this multi-center FDA trial to get an FDA approval. So you have seen 15,000 implants, but they don't even have FDA approval. So when they get FDA approval, this number is going to rise into the sky. So the patients have been 45 to 60 years of age. They have been ametropic, so within a range of plus half a diopter to minus 3/4 of a diopter. They didn't have any ophthalmic operation or disease. How does the procedure work? You see on the left side a typical picture directly after implantation, and on the right hand side you can see what we have done. So with the first inlays, we just laid a conventional LASIK flap, we lifted it, we put the inlay on the bed of the cornea, and we replaced the flap. Now we're doing something different. We're making a pocket in the cornea with a temporal opening, and then you're inserting this inlay from the temporal side within the center of the cornea. When we're getting to the results, we have implanted now in Salzburg about 140 to 150 inlays, and I'm going to show you results of different trials now. So this have been 24 patients with the new inlay. You see the preoperative values in blue if they were able to see J1, red J3, yellow J5. So what happened? You can see a tremendous increase in their near visual acuity. So previous to implantation, not nearly half of the patients were able to read J5. After 1 year, every patient is able to read J5, and also 20% of our patients were able to read J3 previous to implantation, and afterwards about 96%. In mean, we were able to get to J2 values after 1 or 2 years. And intermediate visual acuity, so also increasing intermediate visual acuity with this small epitocorneal inlay. You're implanting it, I have forgotten to tell you, only in one eye, in the non-dominant eye, so it's only a monocular procedure. So also here you can see the increase 2023 previous to implantation. About 2/3 of the patients were able to read see in intermediate 2032, and afterwards about 90%, and 2025 an increase from about 35% to 80%. My mom always told me, if you want to have something, you have to give something. So if you increasing near visual acuity and intermediate visual acuity, you will for sure lose something in distance visual acuity. And this is also what we can see here with the inlay. You can see 100% of our patients were able to read 20/20, and after the procedure about 92% were able to read 20/20. But when you're taking a closer look, you see 3 of our patients lost 2 lines, but they lost 2 lines from a very high starting level. So they lost from 2016 2 lines to 2025. And what's the most important fact here? This loss in distance visual acuity is only monocular. So in binocular values, you don't lose anything. In the spherical equivalent, we are staying quite in the area of ametropia over the time. And now I'm going to show you something different. You have heard in all of these talks about J values, about Jaeger values. But these Jaeger charts have been invented by one of my Viennese colleagues in 1854. So these are really old charts, and there are about 20 or 30 different Jaeger charts all over the world. And I'm not able to compare my Jaeger charts with yours, and you're not able to compare yours with mine. In my clinic, for example, J4 and J5, they have exactly the same size. They're only different in how thick the simple optotypes are. And this makes it quite difficult. One of my colleagues, Professor Kornbrander, made a short trial where he collected about 20 available EGA charts all over the world, and he found differences up to 6 lines within different EGA charts. So when I'm talking about J2, you might see J1, or you might even see J5. So therefore, we thought, okay, we might need something different to get to a better evaluation of reading abilities. And within the last years, I had the opportunity with my boss to invent a new device. It's so-called Salzburg Reading Desk. Salzburg Reading Desk, of course, it was invented in Salzburg. And you can evaluate different things with this reading desk. And I'm a fan also of this principle, the keep it simple, stupid principle. I can talk now about 2 hours about all the different things that this desk will be able to offer, but the most important thing is that every patient can read at its own reading distance. So when I'm going to make a short investigation within this room, everybody of us will have a little bit different reading distance. We might have reading distances between 30 and 55 centimeters, and it's not quite fair to evaluate every patient at 40 centimeters. And to make it short, I've shown you, keep it simple, stupid, and short. I'm only talking about these 2 values about reading distance, because this is what changes when you implant in such kind of device. And the next one, the smallest print size, because at the end of the day, the patient does not ask you, am I able to see J3, J4? He does want to know, am I able to see my normal print sizes? And these print sizes are typically calculated in millimeters, because millimeters is a standard international value, and a millimeter will be in Russia always the same as in Austria. And here you see my mother-in-law. She has a reading distance of about 55 centimeters. Within these trials, we evaluated the patient with this old device, but now there's a new one out there which makes it in an electronical manner where you can also change things like illumination and also contrast. So what happens? Patients have been 45 to 60 years of age, they are presbyopic, so what will you think about the reading distance? Reading distance will be about 45 to 50 centimeters, and that is actually what you can also see here. So in mean we have about 46 centimeters of reading distance, and afterwards when you're implanting this inlay, reading distance decreases. Patients are able to get in closer to the reading target, and they are able to get a better resolution. And the next thing is the smallest print size. Previous to the inlay implantation, our patients had the smallest print size of about 1.5 millimeters, and after implantation they were able to read 1 millimeters. But what does that mean for your patient? We have some kind of, let's call it, reading corridor, physiological reading corridor in normal life. So when patients want to read newspapers, stock prices, package inserts, or everything which is in normal reading world, normally the optotypes have sizes of 1.5 to 3 millimeters. So with every surgical procedure you have, if you're getting your patients below this threshold, when they're able to get with any surgical procedures, that your patients are able to read print sizes smaller than 1.5 millimeter, these patients are gonna be able to read every normal reading equivalent. And this is what you can also see here, so patients are able surely to read newspapers and everything afterwards without any problem. The next topic is about patient satisfaction. On the left-hand side, you have the values for bright light, and on the right-hand side, you have the values for dim light. The outer diameter of the inlay is 3.8 millimeters. So for sure, the inlay will work better in good lighting conditions. So when the pupil is around or close to 3.8 millimeters, you have the biggest increase in intermediate and near visual acuity. As soon as the pupil gonna get wider, these values will decrease. And here you can see what happens. So in their satisfaction values, where 7 is very good and 0 is very poor, you get an increase in reading newspapers and all these things for near. But you can see here the values are bigger for bright lighting conditions than for dim lighting conditions. For the intermediate values, you can see exactly the same. So you have also here bright and dim light. So a bigger increase in intermediate visual acuity satisfaction values in bright lighting condition than in dim lighting conditions. And a very important value is patient satisfaction for distance. So they are losing something. I showed you this 3 patient that lost 2 lines, but when you're taking their satisfaction values, they are staying quite stable. You might have a little bit of decrease, but at least the patients, they don't mention it. So, what can you take home from this short little talk about this Inlay? We have now, within our clinic, more than 6 years of experience with this Inlay. We can conclude it's effective and stable for treating presbyopia. It's an extraocular procedure, it's minimally invasive. You are able to achieve high patient satisfaction values or levels, high spectacle independency. It works better in bright light than dim lighting conditions. You have a small decrease in uncorrected distance visual acuity, but here I want to point out once more, only monocular, no binocular loss. It's potentially removable, and the big advantage is only a monocular procedure. Then I want to thank you for your attention and say goodbye to you with some impressions of beautiful Salzburg.
I think we have a new kid on the block, for sure. Very good. My congratulations. You've given us some very good new information, and I for sure look forward to have this Salzburg reading talks, because then we can compare your results with mine, with his, with hers, all over the world.
Will be a step forward.
As a memory of an excellent lecture from us to you. Thank you very much.